75 years of automotive perfection is getting a makeover. Fresh from decades of perilous finances and faltering sales, and armed with a new owner, one of the world's most iconic brands is taking its best shot. A new design, aiming at putting Jaguar back on top of the luxury car world. The Jaguar XJ, a car that's designed to fly.
It's the most aerodynamic Jaguar we've ever produced in the history of Jaguar.
An aerospace-inspired aluminium body, bonded with over 3,000 rivets, 150 meters of adhesive, and award-winning credentials.
It's a beautiful car. So I can say it's just a beautiful car.
The next 75 years starts now, inside the Jaguar Mega Factory. There is one thing every Jaguar fan agrees on.
There's a lot of great cars in the world. The Jaguar has always made the best looking cars. But in fact, a lot of the British cars are really sharp looking, but the Jaguar always had great design.
And they're counting on a new design to put this endangered cat back on the map. After a string of owners, and decades of decline, this iconic brand had lost its way. With the 21st century came three new models. The XF and a redesigned XK are launched. But it's the final part of this trilogy combined with the new ownership that is giving Jaguar a chance to claw its way back to the top. This new model comes from the most unexpected of the Jaguar range. In 1968, the company launches a new top-of-the-range sedan aimed at the chauffeur-driven customer. The Jaguar XJ series is born, standing for experimental Jaguar. It's much more than an experiment. Under the command of Jaguar design director Ian Callum, 20 in-house designers are tasked with creating a design for the new XJ.
What we want to do is just take it to a whole new level, a real sense of customization.
Preferred by a panel of luxury car customers for its sleek and contemporary look. Designer Adam Hatton wins the race.
I was fortunate enough to have my themes selected for the exterior design of the XJ. Over the last 4 years, I've been helping the team put the car from the first sketch into production and onto the road.
And it's more than just this year's model. The XJ embraces the classic Jaguar magic. Like every great Jaguar of the past, it starts with pen and paper.
What I do for the first kind of sketch of the car would be to set up the main kind of proportions. Every designer kind of draws cars differently. I always just kind of start with the wheels and get the kind of base of the car in there properly, you know, just to set it up.
Adam's homage to the classic Jaguars is what sets his design apart. But to secure the brand's survival, this car has more than good looks. It has 21st century appeal, thanks to its aerospace-inspired technology. The XJ's aerodynamic body is made almost entirely from aluminium. Jaguar began using aluminium in its cars in the early 1900s, but not to this scale. The amount of recycled aluminium on the XJ is equivalent to 12,000 drink cans. The space-age frame combines the very best of automotive and aerospace production technologies. The streamlined body shell weighs in at around 329 kilograms, 66% lighter than it would be in steel. And it tops the scale on fuel efficiency, getting up to 100 kilometers on as little as 7 liters. Even with these impressive modern credentials, the new XJ looks to the past to secure its future. Craftsmanship is the key to Jaguar's past glory. But building a vehicle entirely by hand takes weeks, even months. Not an option when survival rests on sales. Handling the pace of mass production without compromising on quality takes modern-day teamwork. between man and machine. This goal poses a new challenge for an old company. It begins with reinventing Jaguar's Castle Bromwich factory. Set in over 4,000 square meters, this site was once home to the legendary World War II Spitfire aircraft production lines. Now, it's a world leader in automotive manufacture.
I mean, it's always a challenge to develop the site strategy to make sure that everything fits as new models come along. But we can always find ways to optimise the layout, get the right facilities in the right areas, and to build the car as efficiently as we possibly can.
Richard Else is Operations Director. He oversees the entire plant. In his 20 years, he's seen a lot of changes.
20 years ago, Castle Bromwich was only actually a body and paint plant. It became an assembly plant about 12 years ago. And over the last 10 years, we've been rejuvenating the Jaguar brand and creating a new showroom for the three products that we have today. And Castle Bromwich has been at the heart of that revolution.
During this time, owners Ford invested heavily in state-of-the-art robotic technologies. Now these machines have a car to really sink their teeth into. But they can't do it alone. Guiding this company back to its former prominence needs the hand of human experience. Now these machines really sink their teeth. A 9,600 square meter aluminium stamping works. Here, the XJ begins its life. Needs the hand of human experience. 13 massive presses produce over 125 different parts. But aluminium brings its own challenges in production and design.
From my side of things, from designing the exterior shape of the car, aluminum is slightly more difficult to create forms and shapes, like as in razor sharp edges and lots of different crease lines.
Aluminium has around a third of the density of steel. This softer material restricts the range of options for a designer. But Adam lets the properties of this raw material and Jaguar's design legacy lead the way.
The thing is with Jaguar, you know, we're really into design purity, so we like really vast, sort of clean, pure surfaces. Harks back to those great Jaguars of the 50s and 60s.
A fluke of history gave Jaguar its name. The company began life making sidecars for motorcycles. A concept that fed into some of the early designs. Called the Swallow Sidecar Company, its early car models adopted the abbreviation SS. But in 1935, as SS was becoming synonymous with Nazi Germany, the company chose a new name. Believed to have come from the streamlined designs of the cars themselves, Jaguar is born. And the streamlining goes beyond the vehicle bodies. Named after the speedy cat, the XJ is designed to fly.
It's the most aerodynamic Jaguar we've ever produced in the history of Jaguar, so we're very pleased about that. And what that does is obviously gives good fuel economy, low CO2 emissions, and excellent high-speed stability.
A car uses power to overcome drag. The effect of air passing over the vehicle as it moves. The heavier the car, the more power needed to push through this force. This effort burns up fuel. It's like driving through invisible soup. Reduce the drag, and you increase the speed and improve fuel consumption. To further hone this performance, the car needs to lose weight. That's why steel body parts are being replaced with aluminium. Tooling and engineering manager Jim Harper, a 20-year veteran, is at the front line of the Jaguar revolution.
XJS and X300 were the first two vehicles when I first started Jaguar. It's changed massively considering that X300, which was the old XJ, was an all-steel vehicle, and now we're looking at the last two models of XJ are both being total aluminium vehicles.
The press shop produces parts according to the day's production schedule. But if just one batch is rejected during the rigorous quality control process, they may have to be stamped all over again. Beating at the heart of Jaguar's giant press shop are massive stamping machines. These presses hold giant dies or molds that shape the aluminium sheets into body panels. Each panel has its own unique mold, and each time a new panel is needed further down the production line, the mold is changed. It takes just 20 to 30 seconds for the raw aluminium to travel the entire line. These enormous machines may look inflexible, but like press shop line controller Peter Mann, they're ready for anything.
It's different parts every day according to what the rest of the factory require. We can be running one part through the line and then a request we made to run another part. So it's a quick changeover then.
Inside the stamping machines, each panel passes through a choreographed system of steps. First, the stamp. 2,000 tons of pressure turns flat sheets of aluminium into shapely panels. A separate die for every part of the vehicle. Next, the stamp is trimmed to remove any excess material. Green is taken seriously. At the end of its life, an XJ is 85% recyclable. One last run through a finishing press. But on the XJ, nothing is left to chance. Before these panels leave the shop, they are thoroughly tested. Probes measure the surface across hundreds of points, making sure it's exactly the right shape. Tolerances are within half a millimeter. Raw aluminium hides a multitude of sins, but once painted, every lump and bump will be visible. To make sure no surface imperfections reach the production line, there's another check. This is a job for humans. Liquid is spread across the part, representing paint. This will highlight any defects. Aluminium may be feather light. One door panel weighs just 10.5 kilograms, 3 times less than its steel counterpart. But this material is still as tough as an ox. And that comes back to the design.
I've worked with the engineers to make the panels actually incredibly strong. So you can see here, for example, we have, nice shaped bonnet bulge here and all these forms over the headlamps. But what they also do, apart from being attractive, is they give very high strength to the actual panel itself.
Once full, aluminium combines strength with flexibility, allowing it to spring back from shock or impact.
So by putting these forms and shapes into the panels, it makes the panels incredibly strong as well.
Historically, car manufacturers painted raw panels with a white primer. Called body in white, the practice has ceased, but the name for this part of the factory remains. Stock panels arrive here from the presses. It's time to connect the pieces. No part of this 21,000 square metre plant is wasted. From ceiling to floor, conveyors, pulleys and machines move cars and parts of cars along the assembly line in a precise choreography. It's here that the robots excel. Aluminium isn't easily welded. Instead, the shell is held together by over 3,000 tiny fasteners or rivets. Called rivet bonding, it uses the same principles as aircraft manufacture, and it reinforces the strength of the car. It's definitely by those who don't mind dull, repetitive work. 110 robots burst into action. The underframe. 3 parts seamlessly become one. What takes these automatons just a few seconds would take hours for a human crew. Time equals money. In 2008, motor giant Ford sold Jaguar to Indian-based Tata Motors for a bargain 1.5 billion euros. The catch? The company was in financial crisis. But this cat isn't ready to roll over. With all bets doubled down on the XJ, it's fighting back. The completed underbelly does more than just hold the top in place. It comes back to the aerodynamics.
Basically, we can create a very sleek shape on the top of the car, but a lot of the air is directed underneath the car, and you have obviously bits of engine, gearboxes and exhaust pipes coming out the back and various other things underneath the car, and anything that kind of interrupts the airflow will affect the drag coefficient.
So the underbelly is designed and shaped as sleek as the top. More than 150 meters of adhesive is added to the joints. Another practice borrowed from aviation. This adhesive remains tacky until finally cured in the 280-degree paint shop ovens. This new high-tech vehicle is a world apart from the early Jags. But it's still fulfilling a vision that Jaguar's founder, Sir William Lyons, had over 50 years ago. He believed that aerodynamic efficiency was the key to performance. The XJ has brought this vision to life. On the other side of the plant, robots construct more components. Doors, boot lids, and bonnets. And these robots are multitasking. A single robot grabs a panel and attaches it to a jig. Then it changes tools to add a decent. It assembles 289 metal parts, each designed in perfect harmony. Before the next lap, it's time for a pit stop. The machines have proven their worth, but the gods of performance lie in the details. That demands the human touch. The car may be streamlined, but the name of this stage isn't. The Body Shell Less Doors Takeout Station. Framing line quality inspector John Carter's job is to make sure the robots are doing theirs.
So what I'll do is I'll check that everybody has done their job by tightening these up. What I'll do is I'll actually just move it, and I know if there's a bolt loose, anything, earth, anything, and I'll just check them all, go round.
He's a man with a lot of power. Any defects and the production line stops.
So if I find these rivets are not 100%, I know exactly what robot they come from, and I can bring maintenance in and we can actually go in and we can have a look at that robot.
Machines alone can never make a Jaguar.
Most of this is done by hand, the robots are involved, but a lot of it is taken care of. It's time and care. We take care on doing it. It's lovely.
John is so proud of his work, he even invites customers to tour his station.
We like to satisfy the customer that they're getting a good car. They're getting a good car and we're putting the effort in. You know, this is our jobs, and we want to show them this is how good we can build a car, and this is what we want to do. We love it. We all love doing it. That's why, and then we love the customer to see what we can do.
On its journey through the plant, each car has its own travel card. It's like a detailed biography of the vehicle. Everything is recorded, from left or right-hand drive, to information on which robot punched the rivets.
If we do have a problem, we have a travel card, which what we do is, we fill in a travel card. This car then won't move until someone's signed off the travel card. And as you can see, it's blank. This car's come down the line with that, no problem at all. So it's blank. So these travel cards will follow the car all the way out to the, and we will keep these for the life of the car.
No defects on this vehicle.
Now I'm happy for this car to go back into the system. Everything on it is perfect in my book. It's a good car. This is one I'd buy.
A slow-moving conveyor belt carries partly finished frames through the next build stages. Robots have perfected the dull and repetitive work. Now it's time for the classic Jaguar touch. And for that, human craftsmen take over. As soon as the doors are on, a weight placed where the window sits represents the exact weight of the glass and electrics in the final assembly. They measure and remeasure every joint and gap using a small tool and sleight of hand. It's millimetre accurate.
Basically, getting the same gap all the way along, which is 3.5 mil from top to bottom, and a push at the top there. So make sure that that's right there, and it's right there, so that's nice and flush.
Any discrepancies are gently tapped into position. Just 4 minutes later, doors are on, bolts are fixed, and the journey continues. Dozens of cars feed through this line each day. John makes it look easy, but his 27 years experience ensures that each vehicle leaves this station exactly as the designer ordered. A lightweight aluminium frame, perfectly aerodynamic in form. Could be a sales pitch for a new aircraft. But this bird has to stay grounded. To achieve this, car designers used the reverse theory of aeroplane wings.
It's the same principles really, but instead of on an aeroplane you're using the air to try and make the plane lift upon takeoff or whatever. We're trying to obviously make the car stick to the road.
A small flick at the back of the car separates the air from the vehicle.
what you're trying to do on the car aerodynamically is have the air stick to the car, basically flow all the way along the car, and then come off really cleanly, so they call it the separation points. That's part of the reason we have this little flick here on the rear deck, because the air comes over the coupe roof line and then comes to the end and really cleanly separates off from here.
And this is balanced at the front.
This is in exactly the right place to balance exactly where the lip is on the rear. So the car is always incredibly stable, and for a car like a Jaguar, it has to have the best on-road stability in the world. And that's what this car has.
Even the slightest nick, dent, gap or misalignment will impact this aerodynamic performance. Seconds after Warwick has marked any snags on the body, it's into the repair shop, where metal workers fix the snags. Sanders, buffers and polishing rags are the tool of this trade. At the end of this line, the XJ has the perfect body. Adam Hatton creates the exterior theme, but he doesn't know how the new XJ will drive from a drawing alone. Putting this theory into practice turns engineers into computer gamers. Jaguar's virtual cave is the most advanced automotive 3D facility in the world. To us, it looks like a 2D image, but the multi-screen layout and the weird space-age 3D glasses allows virtual reality manager Brian Waterfield to explore the XJ from every angle.
From day one, as soon as the designers had an understanding of how the car is supposed to look, they came down here, they looked at it in the 3D world, they sat inside the car, understood the proportions, and then from that point we started to design in the feasibility, also at the end. Day one, in a part of the overall process.
There's an engineer.
Driver seat, and we have a little world running around the background. This is the first chance you get of actually feeling like you're driving. Just to do reach studies, so I can reach out to certain areas of the vehicle to see if everything is in line with the driver. It also allows me to see vision angles through the different posts, through the window
Machine.
car up. Some of the, if we could pick up different parts, so we could pick parts off, strip the engine, understand how that goes together, or we can actually go up a level and take all the powertrain out in one.
It's a place for reflection.
A lot of our designers will come down here and just want to be alone with the vehicle. They'll have the exterior on, they'll put the glasses on, they can be in here with the curtain shut, just to get a feel how it feels to them, because they're the designers, they're coming up with the inspiration, the ideas. They just want to make sure that they are getting things right.
There's no doubt that the XJ is designed for speed. But to move as fast as it looks takes raw power. And that is under the hood. Engine blocks are sourced from the best manufacturers in the world and arrive at the Jaguar engine dress plant for completion. Assembly operator Mick Fennell coordinates this power line.
The engines come in as a basic unassembled block with the cylinder head on top, and here it's called engine dress. So we dress the engine. We put all the ancillaries on, the pumps, the belts.
These powerful V8 engines drive performance. It may be a sedan on the outside, but the 5-litre supercharged option can rival any sports car, pushing the XJ from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 4.7 seconds. These crews have engine dress down to a fine art.
On average, we can take a bare-bone engine and assemble it fully in approximately an hour.
And the clock starts ticking here.
At this station, we have brackets put on, ball-off pins. Further on in the production sequence, you can have engine covers that press onto those.
At this stage, the robots have no place. This is human territory. It's like a giant jigsaw puzzle being completed by multiple players.
Everybody depends on everybody else to do their job as the line goes on.
A car's engine runs more than just the wheels.
Power steering pump. We've got alternator, pulleys, aircon pump. These are all operated off the one main drive, one main pulley that comes out of the engine. So on the next station we have one belt that is linked around all those pulleys and operates all those items that are fitted onto the engine as it goes along.
Just 3 minutes to the end of this line, and the engine moves on.
This is the start of the main assembly line. The engines come over on the hoist, and this first station is where the gearbox is fitted.
The XJ's 6-position gearbox connects the engine to the drive shaft, controlling torque and speed. Torque is the force that causes the drive shaft to spin. The higher the gear, the faster the drive shaft spins, resulting in increased speed. Engines are not made in isolation. Running parallel, teams prepare the axles, the central shaft or rod that holds to the wheels. The combination of these parts is called the powertrain. Each powertrain is matched to a body, a process called a marriage. This happens in trim and final. Bare bones bodies spin into the final circuit. Ironically, one of the first jobs is removing those perfectly aligned doors.
The reason we build doors off is mainly for damage and damage prevention.
After all, the car's already been painted. Defects can't be sanded and buffed here.
It also allows us to easily enter and exit the vehicle, and it allows us to get some of the big
установленных лиц произошло возгорание старых деревянных ящиков от боеприпасов. Отметили в ведомстве, была проведена эвакуация населения близлежащих домов. Лондон сохранил звание самого популярного города среди туристов. Об этом говорится в докладе международной компании MasterCard, составляющей...
Пока-пока. Ух ты, ёб твою мать, блядь! Баба дура, ёбаный рот. Кроп.
Он улетел.
Чё, блядь, дура, делаешь, ёпта? Пизда, блядь, душа. Тварь, совсем ёбнулась?
Ё-моё!
Июля ежедневно, кроме понедельника в историко-художественном музее.
Блядь!
进化的感觉呢？这是空位跟标。
Сбил. Все, готовый.
Долетались, красавцы.
Что, ничего вдвоем смогли?
Ну, один-то туда пролетел.
Ты, блядь. Пиздец, блядь.
Менторезы своим этим дебилы, блядь.
From the waters of the Yangtze River in China rises the biggest concrete structure on the planet. The Three Gorges Dam is over 2 kilometers long and 60 stories tall. It has taken 40,000 workers over 17 years to build. When it fully comes online, this one dam will produce over 20,000 megawatts of power, twice as much as all the nuclear power stations in Britain put together. It is the pinnacle of dam engineering. China is one of the fastest growing economies on Earth. To fuel the need of its ever-accelerating industry, the nation needs more power. Much of this will be provided by an enormous dam spanning the mighty Yangtze River in central China, called the Three Gorges Dam. Our cameras have been granted privileged access to capture this amazing feat of engineering in its full glory. Before they could start building the Three Gorges Dam, the Chinese first had to divert the Yangtze River, which is almost 2 kilometers wide, and move over 1 million people from the area about to be flooded. And when they filled the reservoir behind the dam, a huge mass of water actually slowed down the speed of the Earth's rotation by a fraction.
Well, Three Gorges Dam is the biggest hydroelectric project in the world. This dam used 28 million cubic meters of concrete. Maybe one way to look at it is to say it's a solid pipe of concrete, a meter diameter, right around the world. It's a lot of concrete.
But the Chinese authorities think it's worth the effort, as the Three Gorges Dam will provide clean and cheap electric power to millions of people. British engineer Robin Charlwood has been working on the dam since 2003 and is still impressed by its scale.
We're in one of the three very large powerhouses of the Three Gorges project. In this 700-meter-long room here, you can see 14 of the large turbine generators. Then beyond this one, a kilometer away is the second powerhouse, and then beyond that one is yet another powerhouse which will be underground in the rock on the far side of the river. Each one of these generators cost about $50 million, to give you an idea of the scale of this project.
Debden Dam had one generator. Three Gorges has 32. Together they produce 5 million times more power than Debden. To drive them, the Chinese have harnessed the power of the mighty Yangtze River. In the reservoir behind the dam, the river now rises up to 60 stories above the riverbed. The water is channeled down gigantic concrete tubes towards the generators. Here hits the turbines and makes them spin. This motion is in turn transferred to the rotor of the generator. This is fitted with massive magnets, which move past copper coils in the casing to generate electricity. Just one of these machines makes as much electricity as a small nuclear power plant. All 32 generators together produce enough power for 60 million Chinese.
This project is setting a new benchmark in the international hydroelectric industry. It's almost twice the size of the next largest project, Itaipu in Brazil. And of course, it's only the first of a whole series of megadams that are under construction here in China.
The Yangtze River is over 6,000 kilometers long, and in places several kilometers wide, the biggest river in China. It presents enormous logistical challenges to the dam engineers. As the Yangtze rises behind the Three Gorges Dam, land along its banks. So the Chinese have to relocate over 1 million people from the land behind the dam. Thousands of new houses have to be built for the displaced citizens to live in. Then the engineers can begin to dam the river.
We're standing here among some of the rocks and these precast concrete blocks that we use to create the cofferdams to control the river during the construction of the Three Gorges project. Controlling the river to allow the construction of this huge project was clearly a major undertaking. I mean, the Yangtze River is one of the largest rivers in the world, very fast, very deep. So building these cofferdams and to allow a safe construction was a major operation. The Chinese claimed that this was the largest and most difficult diversion ever undertaken for a hydroelectric project, and you look at the scale of it, they were absolutely right. This was huge.
The engineers begin work on a series of stone cofferdams to block off part of the Yangtze, whilst leaving a channel open for the rest of the river to flow through. They build the first two sections of the main dam on the dry riverbed. Then they dump tons of earth into the river, and on top of it build another cofferdam, this time from concrete. With the river held in check behind it, they can finally build the last section of the dam. Then they must remove the cofferdam so that water can flow through the turbines of the main dam.
Having built such substantial cofferdam structures, it's a major challenge how to remove these things. So in the earlier stages, where they were built of very large rocks like this, then that could be handled with big excavator equipment, relatively conventional. But in the final stage, where they had a solid concrete wall to remove, this required some serious innovation.
Unlike the cofferdam in Marais, the Chinese version is too tall to simply leave it in place. So the Chinese engineers build it, leaving holes for explosive charges. On the 6th of June 2006, they filled them with 190 tons of dynamite and hold their breath. What has taken months to build takes only seconds to destroy. As the cofferdam crumbles, it unleashes the water stored behind it. It's the final test for the Three Gorges Dam, and it holds. The Three Gorges Dam takes concrete construction to new heights.
You look at it, you can just picture the thickness of the concrete at the base of the dam, the height of it, 180 meters, and it's 2 kilometers long, so it's a colossal amount of concrete.
Three Gorges uses 10 times more concrete than the Hoover Dam, so the engineers have to pull out all the stops to keep their dam cool.
They basically used everything in the book. They cooled the aggregates and the materials, the sands, before they put it into the mix. They added ice. They did everything they could to get the temperature down as low as they could before it started to warm up all by itself. And here, because of the issue of some of the summer weather being especially hot, July and August, they actually went so far as to use a fog spray system to blow effectively a fog blanket over the top of the dam, with the objective of blocking the solar radiation from piling down into the concrete and adding to the heat that was being generated on the inside.
But all these measures to stop concrete from cracking will count for nothing if the dam is built on weak foundations, as civil engineer Ed McCann explains.
While we can make the dam completely impermeable, it's rather harder for us to make the riverbed impermeable. Now, of course, once the water is up behind the dam here, there's a huge pressure pushing it this way. And whilst the dam won't let the water through, the water simply just goes underneath, and that means you haven't got much of a dam. There is a solution to this, and we'll, if John will give me a hand, we'll have a look at it. John, put the blocks, please. What you've got here is basically a pipe network. These are a series of vertical pipes that go down into the riverbed with little holes in the side of them. And we connect them up to a high pressure pump. Of course, it wouldn't be this, but it would be a big pump. In this pump, what we've got is a watery grout. It's just cement and water. And when that cement and the grout goes hard, it creates an impermeable barrier. Just this time, it's in the soil. So we'll have a go. Here's our high pressure pump. So if I squeeze that really hard, there we are. And pretty much straight away you can see the grout coming out and running through the soil and spreading out, which is exactly what we want to see, of course. And you can see in some areas it goes a long way, and in other areas it doesn't get through. That means that the soil is denser and less permeable there. But that's fine, because what you do is you drill more holes down into the areas here, and you squirt more grout in, and you keep going until you've got a continuous curtain underneath the dam. And there we are. So we have our impermeable dam on top of the riverbed, and we've created a concrete dam underneath the riverbed.
To create an impermeable concrete curtain beneath the Three Gorges Dam, engineers drive 100 kilometers of tubing down into the granite bedrock. Then they pump 200,000 cubic meters of grout into the tubes, which is squeezed into the fissures in the rock. As the grout hardens, it turns the leaky rock into a solid waterproof base for their dam. Now the Chinese engineers can be confident that the Yangtze will not undermine their dam.
Basically, the dam holds back a large volume of the water during the flood period. Here it can hold back about 22 billion cubic meters of water. And then it's released in a controlled way through this system of 46 spillway gates and these chutes that you can see below me here. The design of a spillway like this has to deal with the force of the water as it drops over 100 meters in this case here, and then achieves huge velocity at the bottom of the dam.
To deflect the force of the water crashing down, the Chinese use technology similar to the Grand Coulee. As the water levels rise, engineers open a series of gates to drain the floodwater from the reservoir. But if the water fell straight down, it could undermine the foundations of the dam. So the engineers fit the spillway with concrete chutes. Unlike the Grand Coulee ramp, which is underwater, the Three Gorges chutes hurl the water into the air. Once airborne, the water breaks up into small droplets and loses much of its destructive energy. It lands over 100 meters downstream, where it can't do any damage. So now when they open their spillway gates, the Chinese have nothing to worry about. At China's Three Gorges Dam, the engineers also face a major traffic problem. Their dam sits on one of the busiest rivers in Asia.
The Yangtze is a really important waterway for navigation traffic in China, leading all the way from Shanghai, the coast, up to Yichang, all the way to Chongqing. It's been carrying about 18 million tons of freight per year.
Getting about 170 ships a day over a dam that's more than 100 meters high is a tall order for the engineers. Befitting the biggest dam on Earth, the Chinese solve it by building the biggest ship lock on Earth. Ships enter the lock at the bottom of the dam. The gates close, water floods in and lifts the ships up to the next lock. Ships must go through 5 tiers of locks to get to the top, which can take up to 4 hours. This is fine for cargo ships, but for the many passenger boats operating on the Yangtze, it's just too slow.
To provide a more efficient transit opportunity for passenger traffic, they've built this ship lift system here, which will allow boats to go through in about 36 minutes.
Unlike the ship lift at Krasnoyarsk, the one at the Three Gorges will lift ships straight up, like an elevator. And the secret of its success will lie hidden in its concrete walls.
engineers will fit a series of massive counterweights that will do most of the lifting. Sixteen 1,000-ton concrete blocks will be connected by cables to the steel trough that will carry the ship and the water it floats in. They will hoist the trough upwards and lift the...
This ship lift here is 113 meters high and can handle vessels up to 3,000 tons. It'll make it the largest in the world and twice the size of the one at Krasnoyarsk. Certainly when you look at the structure now, it's got a ways to go in terms of construction. It won't be finished till 2015, but it's clearly huge. And it's another very impressive achievement underway here.
The Three Gorges Dam produces more power than any other. But that's not the main reason it was built.
The Yangtze River is notorious for its really severe flooding. Over the last 2,000 years, there's been about one major flood every 10 years. In 1931, there was a really bad one, destroyed almost 2 million homes. And so this is the main reason why they've built the Three Gorges Dam, is to control this terrible flooding problem.
The dam blocks the path of the destructive floodwater. The water is stored in its reservoir and is then released in a controlled way. But managing floodwater can also have serious environmental side effects, as recent history has shown. In 1970, Egyptian engineers built the Aswan High Dam across the River Nile to control flooding. But soon, farmers downstream noticed that their harvests are beginning to fail. Their soil becomes so barren that the farmers need millions of tons of fertilizer every year to nourish their crops. Their land has suffered because it has been deprived of floodwater, which carries with it the vital building blocks of life. Chemist Dr. Andrew Shidlow demonstrates.
So we have here our clean rainwater, which has been falling. We're adding to it some good quality topsoil. We then add some animal excrements. We have some snail shells, essentially made of calcium carbonate. Then we have some dried leaves, plant vegetation here, and of course, fish. As the storm proceeds, as the water starts to flow rapidly, all of these ingredients get mashed up in the hugely violent storm waters which occur. So here we have it, a veritable cocktail of Mother Nature's most important plant nutrients: nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, and potassium.
But if floodwater stops flowing, these nutritious particles of silt will begin to settle. This is a big problem, especially at the biggest dam in the world. The flow of precious Yangtze silt is blocked by the dam and trapped in the slow-moving water of the reservoir. It rapidly sinks to the bottom where it builds up.
The silting problem on the Yangtze is a huge problem. The total amount coming down is about 500 million tons per year, which equates to about 1 kilometer cube. Perhaps enough to fill big sports stadiums hundreds of times. It's a huge amount of silt.
If this silt remains trapped behind the dam, it would mean that farmers, fishermen and wildlife would be deprived of nutrients in the water for hundreds of miles downstream. And the tons of settled silt or sediment could build up in the reservoir and threaten the dam itself.
Basically, sediment falling into the reservoir here would reduce the capacity, the reservoir capacity, and would eventually perhaps interfere with the ability to run the turbines if it came up that high.
Cleverly, the Chinese engineers exploit the power of floodwater to flush the sediment out of the reservoir and send it downstream. They installed sluice gates deep inside the dam. Each gate weighs as much as a bus and needs a powerful hydraulic piston to lift it up. When the operators open the gates, floodwater rushes over the trapped sediment and sweeps it through the dam. This way, the Chinese authorities hope that it will be at least another 100 years before the buildup of sediment affects power production at the dam. But even the clever purging system cannot carry all the sediment across the dam. Scientific estimates on how much sediment remains behind vary from as little as 30% to as much as 60%. But the Chinese authorities believe that this is a price worth paying. They are convinced that the benefits of the dam, such as clean energy and flood control, far outweigh its significant drawbacks. As the Three Gorges project draws to completion, its scale is breathtaking. Even with some of its turbines still to be switched on, it produces more power than any other dam in the world. Standing on the shoulders of historic engineering giants, the Three Gorges really is the ultimate hydroelectric dam. Until someone builds an even bigger one.
Stretching 5.5 is the most audacious engineering project the world has ever seen. Palm Jumeirah is so vast it can be seen from space. Built only from sand and rock, threatened by earthquakes, violent storms and erosion from the sea, it's remarkable that Palm Jumeirah exists at all.
If God had wanted an island in the shape of a palm tree in the ocean, he'd have put one here.
Engineers must race against time and battle constantly with the forces of nature. This is a megastructure they thought could never be built. August 2001. The Arabian Gulf is a massive activity. Dubai is building one of the biggest man-made islands in the world. Engineer ahead of because this is a construction like no other. Built from concrete and steel, materials that are artificially strengthened. Island is being constructed out at sea, using only natural materials, sand and rock. And both start eroding the moment they hit the water. It's a daunting task.
Any construction is in defiance to nature, and this is an extreme example of that. Every day, we're trying to...
The Middle East, Dubai, the jewel of the Arab world. A kingdom built on the profits of its oil reserves. This tiny emirate, twice the size of London, is one of the richest places in the Arab world. But it hasn't always been like this. 50 years ago, Dubai was a trading town built on a creek. Over half a century later, it's been transformed. Now it's famous for gold, trade, and oil. But there's a problem on the horizon. By 2016, the oil will have run out. It'll mean disaster for the economy. Dubai must find a new source of income. The Crown Prince, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, has a $2 billion plan to save his country. He's ordered his kingdom to transform itself into the world's #1 luxury tourist destination. And the Crown Prince has a history of getting what he wants. To put Dubai on the map, he's already built one of the most luxurious hotels in the world, the Burj Al Arab, created top-class golf and race courses, and is planning the world's tallest building. But now, the Crown Prince's big idea is mass tourism. Dubai seems the perfect spot. It offers sun almost every day of the year, glorious beaches and azure seas. 5 million tourists visit here annually. Now they want to triple this to 15 million. But there's a problem. The coastline is a mere 72 kilometers long. Not enough space for all these extra people. But how do you make your coastline longer? The Crown Prince's plan is to build a massive island, and he wants it done by 2006. This daunting task falls to Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem. Starting with a blank piece of paper, he draws a circular island. He's delighted. It increases the coastline by 7 kilometers. But for the Crown Prince, it's nowhere near enough.
He looked at it was a circular island, which gave us about 7 kilometers of beaches. And he said, why not 70 kilometers?
It's back to the drawing board. This time, the Crown Prince works on the design himself, pulling it about to increase the beachfront. Nothing seems right. But then he comes up with an audacious plan. What better for a paradise island than the shape of a palm tree? 5.5 kilometers across, it increases the coastline by a wider in front than the shape before. Is to build a restaurant, shaped breakwater, concrete and steel. But this doesn't fit with the Crown Prince's plans. His idea creates an added challenge. To blend in with its surroundings, the island must be made entirely from natural materials. The palm-shaped island will only be made from sand, 94 million cubic meters of it. All that protects this from the sea will be a breakwater, 5.5 million cubic meters of rock. Together, there's enough sand and rock to build a 2.5 meter high wall circling the entire world.
This may be the only place in the world where something like this could be done, to have the vision and then the courage to carry it through.
To make this audacious plan a reality, Dubai needs the best engineers on the planet. A worldwide search leads to Northern Europe and Holland. Experts in land reclamation, the Dutch have increased Holland's landmass by 35%. The Dutch team are immediately booked for the job. The first thing they must prove is that it's possible to build an island out in the Arabian Gulf and that it'll stay there. They know the only way to keep the island in position is to surround it by a breakwater. But just how big does this sea defense need to be? To find out, researchers must calculate the strength of Dubai's storms, the height of the waves and tidal surges, and what effect global warming will have in raising the sea level. The biggest fear for all coastal engineers are massive freak waves. These waves build up, destroy nearly everything in their path. But the island builders are lucky. The research team has worked out that the Arabian Gulf is the perfect place to build this megastructure. On average, the Gulf is only 30 meters deep and it's only 160 kilometers wide. It's too short and too shallow for catastrophic waves to build up. But the team know they will get Shamal storms. Every winter, these intense northerly storms bring high winds and 2-meter waves that will batter the structure. Researchers must also factor in the worst-case scenario. the storm that hits once in 100 years. The team do the final calculations. To protect this fragile island, the breakwater must be at least 3 meters high above the waves and 11.5 kilometers long. But just when the engineers thought they were ahead, they're given another challenge. The developers in charge of this megastructure want to start construction immediately, before the research is complete. It's a huge gamble that could come back to bite. If they haven't got it right, the whole structure might be washed away. As well as starting before they're ready, form a miracle. Normally, a project like this would take 15 years to build, but they must do it in 5. Before work can begin, the engineers must first work out just where this awesome creation should be built. The job falls to one man, project manager Bob Berger.
Of course, one of the problems we have working in the sea is that there's no place to put stakes. Don't know where this project is going to go. So what we did, we were requested by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed to know where this island is going to be. We marked off the center of our plot. I stood there, the very first one, right in the edge of the water. My arms down the beach each way, closed my eyes. This is the center line of the project. An engineer puts stakes in that line, and that became the center point of the entire project, just like that.
August 2001, the breakwater construction team take to the sea. They've only 2 years to build this massive 11.5 kilometer sea wall. But just as they get started, disaster strikes. September the 11th, 2001. The World Trade Center in New York is attacked in a brutal act of terrorism. Overnight, tourism to the Middle East stops. But work has already started on the Palm Island. Will millions of dollars and months of research all be in vain? September 2001. In the wake of terrorist attacks in the United States, travel abroad halts abruptly. Fear and panic spread. People are too frightened to travel, particularly to the Middle East. It could have disastrous consequences for Dubai's ambitious plans. Work has already begun on building one of the biggest man-made structures in the world. A giant palm-shaped island that'll transform
మనసు పగిలిపోతుందే గొలుసు గులాబీ రాలిపోతుందే సొగసు కరిగిపోతుందే మనిషి లైఫే పోతుందే లేకపోతే పోయిందే ప్రేమించి గెలిచినోళ్ళు షాది జరిపినోళ్ళు ఇళ్లలో నమ్మిగులుతారే లవ్ చేసి వాడినోడు లోక నేరుతాడు హిస్టరీలో నా పేరు పొందాడే My love is gone, my love is gone, my love is gone, my love is నీ సొగసే చూసి గుండె జారి కళ్ళంతయ్యిందే అరే కళ్ళలో నా మైకం చిన్నారి కళ్ళలో నా వయ్యారి మైకం మెరిసే మెరిసేటి లోకం ముడిపడిపోంది మైకం దేన్ని కల్లా పొయలన్నీ ఓర చూపే చూసెనులే ఎదకు అదుపే తప్పిందే ఓ పిల్ల నీ వల్లేనా అరే 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 గుండె జారి కళ్ళంతయ్యిందే నీ సొగసే చూసి గుండె జారి కళ్ళంతయ్యిందే అరే 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 ఓ పిల్ల తయ్యిందే నీ సొగసే చూసి గుండె జారి కళ్ళంతయ్యిందే అరే అరే కళ్ళలో నా మైకం చిన్నారి కళ్ళలో నా వయ్యారి మైకం మెరిసే మెరిసేటి లోకం ముడిపడిపోంది మైకం దేన్ని కల్లా పొయలన్నీ ఓర చూపే చూసెనులే ఎదకు అదుపే తప్పిందే ఓ పిల్ల నీ వల్లేనా అరే 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 గుండె జారి కళ్ళంతయ్యిందే నీ సొగసే చూసి గుండె జారి కళ్ళంతయ్యిందే అరే 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 చాలే వెయ్యమాకే వేషాలే నీ నకసికలే చాలే మది నీవు పకే వెయ్యాలే
నిన్ను కోరి వచ్చినానయ్యా ఓ రామయ్య చిట్టి గుండె నీనువే చూడాలియా పొద్దు వెనక చూడని ప్రియా మెదల్దియా మనసు చూస్తే ఆడిపోదియా
ఓ వీడిపోనే నిన్ను విడిచిపోనే అందకుండా ఉండిపోనే
అడుగు దూరంలో ఉన్నావు మాట వింటే మైకమొచ్చిలే
అరే 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 గుండె జారి కళ్ళంతయ్యిందే నీ సొగసే చూసి గుండె జారి కళ్ళంత చూస్తే చాలే గాజు పూల వర్షాలే ఓ నువ్వు వస్తే చాలే జాజి పూల జంపాలే
కొత్తలింక వత్తులేవయ్యా సునో ప్రియా ఉసుపు కౌసులెన్నో విన్నానయ్యా తమర్చి ఆడుతున్నా ఈ చెలియా ఏరి కోరి నీకు తెలియా
నిన్ను కోరి దూరం అంతా చేరువాయే చెనువంతా
మనసులోని అణువణువంతా నిండిపోతే తప్పులేటట
అరే 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 గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే నీ సొగసే చూసి గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే అరే 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 గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే అరే 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 గుండె అరే కళ్ళలో కళ్ళలో నా మైకం చిన్నారి కళ్ళలో నా వయ్యారి మైకం మెరిసే మెరిసేటి లోకం ముడిపడిపోంది మైకం నేను కల్లా హొయలన్నీ ఓర చూపే చూసెనులే ఎదకు అదుపే తప్పిందే ఓ పిల్ల నీ వల్లేనా అరే 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 గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే నీ సొగసే చూసి గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే అరే 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 ఓ పిల్ల చాలే వెయ్యమాకే వేషాలే నీ నకసికలే చాలే మదిని ఊపకే వెయ్యాలే
నిన్ను కోరి వచ్చినానయ్యా వరాలమయ్యా చిట్టి గుండె నేనువే చూడాలియా పొద్దు వెనక చూడని ప్రియా మెదల్దియా మనసు చూస్తే ఆడేదానియా
ఓ వీడిపోనే నిన్ను విడిచిపోనే అందకుండా ఉండిపోనే
అడుగు దూరంలో ఉన్నావా మాట వింటే మైకమొచ్చిలే
అరే 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 గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే నీ సొగసే చూసి గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే అరే 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 ఓ కళ్ళలో కళ్ళలో నా మైకం చిన్నారి కళ్ళలో నా వయ్యారి మైకం నీ గాలే నువ్వు వసే జంపాలే అమ్మాయే చెన్ అరే 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 గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే నీ సొగసే చూసి గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే అరే 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 గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే అరే 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 తయ్యిందే నీ సొగసే చూసి గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే అరే అరే కళ్ళలో కళ్ళలో మైకం చిన్నారి కళ్ళలోన వయ్యారి మైకం మెరిసే మెరిసేటి లోకం ముడిపడిపోంది మైకం తేనె కళ్ళ హొయలన్నీ ఓర చూపే చూసెనులే ఎదకు అదుపే తప్పిందే ఓ పిల్లని అరే 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 గుండె జారి కళ్ళంతయ్యిందే నీ సొగసే చూసి గుండె జారి కళ్ళంతయ్యిందే అరే 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 ఓ పిల్ల చాలే వెయ్యమాకే వేషాలే నీ నకసికలే చాలే మది నీవు పకే వెయ్యాలే
నిన్ను కోరి వచ్చినానయ్యా ఓ రామయ్య చిట్టి గుండె నీనువే చూడాలియా ముద్దు వెనక చూడని ప్రియా మెదల్దియా మనసు చూస్తే ఆడేదనియా
ఓ వీడిపోనే నిన్ను విడిచిపోనే అందకుండా ఉండిపోనే
అడుగు దూరంలో ఉన్నావు మాట వింటే మైకమొచ్చిలే
అరే 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 గుండె జారి కళ్ళంతయ్యిందే నీ సొగసే చూసి గుండె జారి కళ్ళంతయ్యిందే అరే 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 ఓ కళ్ళలో కళ్ళలోన మైకం చిన్నారి కళ్ళలోన వయ్యారి మైకం నిన్ను చూస్తే చాలే గాజు పూల వర్షాలే ఓ నువ్వు వస్తే చాలే జాజి పూల జంపాలే
కోతలింక వత్తులేవయ్యా సునో ప్రియా ఉసుపు కౌసలెన్నో వింటానయ్యా ఆటమచ్చి ఆడుతున్నా ఈ చెలియా ఏరి కోరి నీకు తెలియా
నిన్ను కోరి దూరం అంతా చేరువాయే చెనువంతా
మనసులోని అణువణువంతా నిండిపోతే తప్పులేంటట
అరే 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 గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే నీ సొగసే చూసి గుండె జారి కళ్ళంతయ్యిందే అరే 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 ఓ పిల్ల చాలే వెయ్యమాకే వేషాలే నీ నకసికలే చాలే మది నీవు పకే వెయ్యాలే
నిన్ను కోరి వచ్చినానయ్యా ఓ రామయ్య చిట్టి గుండె నీనువే చూడాలియా ముద్దు వెనక చూడని ప్రియా మెదల్దియా మనసు చూస్తే ఆడేదనియా
ఓ వీడిపోనే నిన్ను విడిచిపోనే అందకుండా ఉండిపోనే
అడుగు దూరంలో ఉన్నావు మాట వింటే మైకమొచ్చిలే
అరే 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 గుండె జారి కళ్ళంతయ్యిందే నీ సొగసే చూసి గుండె జారి కళ్ళంతయ్యిందే అరే 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 ఓ కళ్ళలో కళ్ళలోన మైకం చిన్నారి కళ్ళలోన వయ్యారి మైకం
చూస్తే చాలే గాజు పూల వర్షాలే ఓ నువ్వు వస్తే చాలే జాజి పూల జంపాలే
కోతలింక వత్తులేవయ్యా సునో ప్రియా ఉసుపు కౌసలెన్నో విన్నానయ్యా ఆటమర్చి ఆడుతున్నా ఈ చెలియా ఏరి కోరి నీకు తెలియా
నిన్ను కోరి దూరం అంతా చేరువాయే చెనువంతా
మనసులోని అణువణువంతా నిండిపోతే తప్పులేటట
అరే 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 గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే నీ సొగసే చూసి గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే అరే 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 గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే అరే 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 తయ్యిందే నీ సొగసే చూసి గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే అరే 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 కళ్ళలో కళ్ళలో నా మైకం చిన్నారి కళ్ళలో నా వయ్యారి మైకం మెరిసే మెరిసేటి లోకం ముడిపడిపోంది మైకం నేను కల్లా హొయలన్నీ ఓర చూపే చూసెనులే ఎదకు అదుపే తప్పిందే ఓ పిల్ల నీ వల్లేనా అరే 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 గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే నీ సొగసే చూసి గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే అరే 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 ఓ పిల్ల చాలే వెయ్యమాకే వేషాలే నీ నకసికలే చాలే మదిని ఊపకే వెయ్యాలే
నిన్ను కోరి వచ్చినానయ్యా ఓ రామయ్య చిట్టి గుండె నేనువే చూడాలియా పొద్దు వెనక చూడని ప్రియా మెదల్దియా మనసు చూస్తే ఆడిపోదియా
ఓ వీడిపోనే నిన్ను విడిచిపోనే అందకుండా ఉండిపోనే
అడుగు దూరంలో ఉన్నావా మాట వింటే మైకమొచ్చిలే
అరే 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 గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే నీ సొగసే చూసి గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే అరే 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 ఓ కళ్ళలో కళ్ళలో నా మైకం చిన్నారి కళ్ళలో నా వయ్యారి మైకం నిన్ను చూస్తే చాలే గాజు పూల వర్షాలే ఓ నువ్వు జాజి పూల జంప
సునో ప్రియా ఏరి కోరి నీకు తెలియా
నిన్ను కోరి దూరం
మనసులోని అణువణువంతా నిండిపోతే తప్పులేటట
అరే 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 గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే నీ సొగసే చూసి గుండె జారి గల్లంతయ్యిందే అరే 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 గుండె
చలో లే చలో నువ్వంటే లే చలో లే చలో నువ్వంటే నేనురా నీ వెంటే నేనురా నేనంటూ లేనురా రా రా రా
నీతోనే నేనులే నీలోనే నేనులే నాలోనే లేనులే
లే చలో ఎక్కడికో నన్ను లే చలో నీతో వస్తా లే చలో
లే చలో ఏ లోకం లోకో లే చలో వేరెవ్వరూ కనిపించని ఆ చోటికి నన్ను లే చలో చలో నువ్వు నడిచే నేలపైన నేను నడిచా నీడగా నిన్ను తాకి వీచుగాలే పీల్చుకున్న శ్వాసగా నిన్ను నన్ను జంట కలిపి మనలాగా మారగా
మనమన్న మాటే ఎందుకు ఉన్నదొక్కరైతే దూరం ఎక్కడుంది మనసులు మనసు కలిసిపోతే అత్తగా నీ సొంతమయ్యేనంటికి నేనుంటానంతే
లే చలో ఎక్కడికో నన్ను లే చలో
లే చలో లే చలో నువ్వంటే నేనురా నీ వెంటే నేనురా నేనంటూ లేనురా రా రా రా
నీతోనే నేనులే నీలోనే నేనులే నాలోనే లేనులే
లే చలో ఎక్కడికో నన్ను లే చలో నీతో వస్తా లే చలో
లే చలో ఏ లోకం లోకో లే చలో వేరెవ్వరూ కనిపించని ఆ చోటికి నన్ను లే చలో చలో నువ్వు నడిచే నేలపైన నేను నడిచా నీడగా నిన్ను తాకి వీచుగాలే పీల్చుకున్న శ్వాసగా నిన్ను నన్ను జంట కలిపి మనలాగా మారగా
మనమన్న మాటే ఎందుకు ఉన్నదొక్కరైతే దూరం ఎక్కడుంది మనసులు మనసు కలిసిపోతే అత్తగా నీ సొంతమయ్యేనంటికి నేనుంటానంతే
లే చలో ఎక్కడికో నన్ను లే చలో
లే చలో లే చలో నువ్వంటే నేనురా నీ వెంటే నేనురా నేనంటూ లేనురా రా రా రా
నీతోనే నేనులే నీలోనే నేనులే నాలోనే లేనులే
లే చలో ఎక్కడికో నన్ను లే చలో నీతో వస్తా లే చలో
లే చలో ఏ లోకం లోకో లే చలో వేరెవ్వరూ కనిపించని ఆ చోటికి నన్ను లే చలో చలో నడిచా నీడగా నిన్ను తాకి వీచుగాలే పీల్చుకున్న శ్వాసగా నిన్ను నన్ను జంట కలిపి మన ప్లాగా మారగా
మనమన్న మాటే ఎందుకు ఉన్నదొక్కరైతే దూరం ఎక్కడుంది మనసులు మనసు కలిసిపోతే అత్తగా నీ సొంతమై ఏనంటికి నేనుంటానంతే
లెచ్చలో ఎక్కడికో నన్ను లెచ్చలో
లెచ్చలో లెచ్చలో నీ వెంటే లెచ్చలో లెచ్చలో నీతో వస్తా లెచ్చలో
లెచ్చలో లోకం లోకో లెచ్చలో వేరెవ్వరూ కనిపించని ఆ చోటికి నన్ను లెచ్చలో చాలో నువ్వు నడిచే నేలపైన నేను నడిచా నీడగా నిన్ను తాకి వీచుగాలే పీల్చుకున్న శ్వాసగా నిన్ను నన్ను జంట కలిపి మన ప్లాగా మారగా
మనమన్న మాటే ఎందుకు ఉన్నదొక్కరైతే దూరం ఎక్కడుంది మనసులు మనసు కలిసిపోతే అత్తగా నీ సొంతమై ఏనంటికి నేనుంటానంతే
లెచ్చలో ఎక్కడికో నన్ను లెచ్చలో
లెచ్చలో లెచ్చలో నువ్వంటే నేనురా నీ వెంటే నేనురా నేనంటూ లేనురా రా రా రా
నీతోనే నేనులే నీలోనే నేనులే నాలోనే లేనులే
లెచ్చలో ఎక్కడికో నన్ను లెచ్చలో లెచ్చలో నీతో వస్తా లెచ్చలో
లెచ్చలో లోకం లోకో లెచ్చలో వేరెవ్వరూ కనిపించని ఆ చోటికి నన్ను లెచ్చలో చాలో
Dubai into a world-class holiday destination. The massive 11.5-kilometer breakwater is under construction. Both the breakwater team and the Palm Island team are assembled to make the dream a reality. But 9/11 throws the plans into turmoil. The 1,200 foreign engineers fear their lives could be in danger. They make contingency plans to leave the country. In the meantime, they're advised not to go into Western hotels and bars. Business slumps. Beaches are empty. Restaurants deserted. No one wants to be here. For 3 months, Dubai grinds to a halt. The sun is setting on the Middle East's tourist industry. But the job must carry on, whatever the political climate. The oil reserves are running out. The Crown Prince stands firm. The developers are now committed to the build. Millions of dollars have been spent hiring the world's top reclamation engineers. They've worked on huge projects like Hong Kong's Cheplak Kok Airport, Holland's North Sea Wall, and Singapore's Industrial Centre. But more. By November 2001, the race to build this megastructure is really underway. 9 barges, 15 tugboats, 4 dredgers, 30 heavy land-based machines, and 10 floating cranes are needed to construct the massive seawall. For the breakwater team, their first step in this awesome challenge is to build up the sea floor. 3 massive dredgers take up a thin layer of sand from the barren seabed nearby. Then they dump this sand in a layer up to 7.4 meters thick. This must be done while the sea is at its calmest. To keep it in place, barge loads of rubble are dropped on top of this. This bed of rock will raise the breakwater from 4 to 3 meters above. It's the beginning of the sea defense, without which the island cannot exist. The sloping layers take out the force of the waves as they hit the wall. But the sand and rubble layer is only the base, the core of the breakwater. What really creates the protection is the outer armor. For this, engineers need vast lumps of rock. Each piece of rock weighs up to 6 tons. It's these massive boulders that will protect the fragile island from the destructive force of the sea. But sourcing enough rock is an enormous task. Excavation teams spring into action in 16 quarries across the United Arab Emirates. The 11.5-kilometer breakwater needs a lot of rock. 5.5 million cubic meters of the stuff, enough to build 2 Egyptian pyramids. Rock is blasted out of the mountains night and day. Loaded onto dozens of lorries, it begins the arduous journey to the coast. Here, the rocks are immediately piled onto barges and shipped straight to the construction site. It takes less than 24 hours for each rock to travel from quarry to breakwater. 24/7, this floating conveyor belt delivers up to 40,000 tons of rock per day, nearly the same weight as 2 aircraft carriers. The density, size, strength and permeability of each boulder is crucial. This stone wall must last for centuries. There's no concrete or steel holding these rocks in place. These vast boulders are not just dumped in position. Graded by size and weight, it's the sheer volume that keeps them here. Positioned by cranes, each rock must interlock with the next to withstand the full force of the sea. Constant checks are needed to ensure the breakwater is in the right place and the rocks are stable. The only sure way to do this is to send in divers to pinpoint and check every meter of it. Nothing about this megastructure is left to chance. Any movement could cause the rock to crack and the wall to disintegrate, leaving the whole project vulnerable. A detailed study of the breakwater rocks below the water is noted. Divers are looking for signs of fatigue on these 6-ton boulders. Their fear is that some will have splintered or been knocked out of place by strong waves when they were put here. Every 27 meters, a diver surfaces to record the location of the rocks they're checking. The reading is taken from a man based on land, but so far this section of the breakwater stands firm. January 2002. 6 months after work began, a large section of breakwater stands proud 4.5 kilometers out at sea. For everyone involved, it's an exciting time as the dream becomes reality.
When the first breakwater came up, of course, we all went out there. We had to stand on it. This tiny little precipice of rock in the middle of the ocean, and look back at Dubai and say that this is the beginnings of our job.
It's a momentous achievement for the team, but there's still over 10 kilometers of this vast sea wall to build. The engineers are jubilant, but their happiness is short-lived. Winter is closing in. With a schedule of only 2 years to complete the breakwater, the last thing anyone needs is a delay. Winter in the Middle East brings shamals, great storms with winds of up to 56 kilometers per hour. Wind shifts are sudden, whipping up the sea, bringing torrential rain, violent thunderstorms, or blinding dust storms. On land, little can move. Out at sea, things are even worse. Massive waves batter the boats that need dead calm water to place the sand and rock with pinpoint accuracy.
We had to seek shelter in the very little shelter that we had built.
Engineers planned for the bad weather, but the storms of March 2002 are worse than they feared.
Everybody crowding around trying to protect themselves from the storms.
The boats find shelter, but more worryingly, will the breakwater hold? It's a nail-biting time. Over the next 3 weeks, the storms are relentless. All the engineers can do is watch and wait. The breakwater stands firm, but the schedule is slipping. The construction team is 3 weeks behind, and the pressure is immense. Every second counts. It's vital that the fragile sand island has protection. Only when a 550-meter-long section of breakwater is built can the Palm Island begin to rise above the sea. But the schedule is desperately tight. The entire megastructure must be complete by 2006. They have 2.5 years to create the island and breakwater, and just 2 years to build the city on it. The only way to meet the deadline is for both the breakwater and the island to be built at the same time. It's not an ideal situation. It will mean that throughout the build, the Palm Island will have the bare minimum of protection from the sea, but the engineers have no choice. The deadline is set. While the second team building the island wait for the protective breakwater to be built, they keep ahead of schedule by laying the sand foundations below sea level. But now, 8 months after construction began, they are desperate to break the surface. Finally, April 2002, the first 550-meter section of the breakwater rises 3 meters above the sea. At last, the builders of the Palm can step up the action and bring the island above sea level for the first time. To complete this massive island, Team 2 has the awesome task of finding 94 million cubic meters of sand to create their island, enough to cover the whole of Manhattan 1 meter deep. It's an enormous job in itself, but finding the right sand is an added headache. Dubai has more sand than it could ever need, but there's a problem. Desert sand is the wrong material for the job. It's too fine. The particles won't cling together. It means that the vast sand island would simply wash away. The engineers must look elsewhere. The best sand for the job is found 6 nautical miles out at sea. This sand is much more suitable. It's resistant to wave impact. They will dredge sand from the Gulf seabed. And there is an added benefit. The dredgers will spend less time transporting the material to the construction site. In just 3 hours, a dredger travels to and from the site, scoops up the sand, and sprays it into position. It works a 5 square kilometer area, dredging up the top meter of the sea floor. It takes less than an hour to fill the 8,000-ton tank with sand. The sand is then pumped through and sprayed into the Olympic swimming pool in 4 minutes. The island construction team work round the clock to keep to the tight schedule. Night and day, the island grows bit by bit. The rainbowed sand builds into a sandbar, rising up to 4 meters out of the water. But for the engineers, there are mixed feelings. Is the shape of the island progressing as planned?
There's great excitement, and there was great anticipation and a little bit of fear. Is it in the right place?
With doubt cast over the construction, Dubai has a trick up its sleeve. 676 kilometers up in space. Dubai has access to the only privately owned satellite in the world. It's so powerful, it rivals those of the Russian and US military. The satellite, IKONOS, orbits the Earth, taking pictures that prove the island is totally on track. So far. It also means the Crown Prince can keep a close eye on his pet project. August 2002, a year in, and the island team is ahead of schedule. 8 kilometers of the breakwater stands firm. 8 palm fronds break through the azure seas. But it's a grueling and difficult process. Rainbowing is a common operation in land reclamation. But this is no ordinary reclamation project. There is no mold for the palm shape and no fixed points to get bearings from. The unique shape makes it a nightmare to build because the whole design relies on accuracy. This enormous structure has 56 kilometers of waterfront and almost all of it is curved. To make things more difficult, it's impossible to tell from the ground if the sand is falling in the right place. The only way to complete this task is to use state-of-the-art technology.
Prior to GPS, we couldn't have done this job. There are only 2 straight lines in this project. All the rest of them are curved.
It's all down to a team of 5 men who walk the perimeter of the island every day as it takes shape. It's grueling work. Summer temperatures reach a searing 48 degrees Celsius. Humidity hits 95%. With heavy packs strapped to their backs, these mobile receivers create a grid reference for the island. Receiving signals from space and a fixed position on land, the height and position of the sandbars is recorded. With these coordinates, dredgers can sail into the exact position and rainbow the sand with pinpoint accuracy. Only by using state-of-the-art GPS technology can this awesome megastructure take shape. As the world watches, the Palm Island becomes a reality. At the same time, faith in this tiny emirate is restored. Post 9/11, Dubai emerges as a safe haven in the Middle East. Philippic resumes has paid, but there is still a deadline to meet. The island must be built. Coordination between the 2 teams, one building the breakwater and the other reclaiming the sand island, is crucial. If they don't work in perfect synchronicity, the whole project could be thrown into jeopardy.
If the breakwater progressed too quickly, it would cut off access for the reclamation contractor. If the reclamation went too quickly, then it would be at risk for the storms. We couldn't let one get ahead of the other in any way.
It's a balance. But a year into the project, and incredibly, work is on schedule. Against all odds, the Palm Island rises above the waves, protected by the ever-increasing sea wall. It's a symbol of engineering achievement. But the engineers' biggest challenge is still to come: how to make the island safe to build on. The majestic Palm Island is only made from sand. But sand is unstable and highly susceptible to the movement of water around it. It also takes time to settle before it's strong enough to build on. But this awesome structure will support a city of 120,000 people, and their safety relies on firm foundations. This massive sand island must be made rock solid. But how? October 2002. Dubai is building the world's most audacious engineering project in the Arabian Gulf. A 5.5-kilometer island in the shape of a palm tree, made entirely out of natural materials. A year into the build, and 2/3 of the breakwater is complete. 8 kilometers of massive rocks piled 3 meters above the waves, backed by 200 meters of beach that will eventually carry 22 hotels. Behind this sea defense, the first 9 palm fronds made of sand rise above the water. Dredgers spray sand from the seafloor, a process called rainbowing, to create the first half of the 5.5-kilometer island. But building a man-made structure in the middle of the sea with only rock and sand throws up challenges every step of the way. The team constantly battle with nature as the sea erodes the work they do.
We worried initially that we could actually do it, that we could place the sand where it should be, that we could place the rocks where they should be.
The teams now race to finish the project. But then the engineers discover a problem that could put the whole project in jeopardy. The decision to start construction before completing the research has finally caught up with them.
Coming in or going out.
The sea is not circulating around this massive megastructure as they planned. The tides are not flushing the system properly. Clean water is not moving fast enough round the inner waterway. The water is in serious danger of becoming stagnant. People have peace of this paradise island. Green fetid water is not going to work. A solution must be found, and fast. Changes must be made to the design. But all the time, the Palm Island is taking shape to the original plan. Further tests are run on the computer. Luckily, the solution is found just in time, and the wall must be 4 layers. These enough fresh-flowing water can get into the system. Twice a day, the tide enters the structure, pushing clean water around the fronds. Over 2 weeks, the entire waterway is replenished. But there is always a fear it may return. Environmentalists now test the water every day to check that the system is working. The return of algae and stagnant water is something they can't allow. With the water quality assured, the project is back on track. Teams race to finish the structure. 7 dredgers rainbow the sand, creating the last few palm fronds. Floating cranes lift the final. The breakwater is complete. An awesome 5.5 million cubic meters of rock now holds back the full force of the sea. 2 months later, in October, the island reclamation is finished. 94 million cubic meters of sand have been pumped into the Arabian Gulf to create the perfect palm shape. In just over 2 years, the Palm Island has finally risen from the sea. The deadline has been met just on time, and phase 1 of this monumental engineering challenge has been accomplished. There is still a very long way to go. Phase 1 is only the completion of the foundations. Now to fulfill the Crown Prince's dream. 4,500 houses and apartments, hotels and shopping malls must be built along the waterfront. This sand island must support an entire city. But here lies the next major problem. Sand is not easy to build on. Because the sand has been sprayed into position, it's loose and uncompacted.
We get the material for the islands dredged from the seabed, which means that all the fine materials are already cleansed from the sands. You can drive on it within a couple hours after you reclaim it. However, it's not satisfactory to build on.
But a strong base is vital to support this city at sea. Before construction can start, engineers must find a way to compact the sand to make it firm. In theory, the idea is simple.
All we have to do then is compress the top layer. As you can see, when you press down, very little displacement, except straight down, nothing to the side. That gives us a firm surface to build on.
But in reality, the engineers are working with an area spread over 5 square kilometers. Over time, the sand will compact naturally, but this will take years. And time is something the engineers don't have. Another more important by the foundation. Dubai, 5:26 in minutes, 6 across the Arabian. Sand particle, ground liquid. The force liquefies the report is built on. Palm the team 8 they must themselves target just man-made years rise as turn their attention from sand and rock to concrete glass and steel. They're building an entire city out at sea in just 2 years. Nothing like this has ever been attempted before. For project manager Scott Hutchinson, building the apartments is a massive logistical nightmare.
I've probably worked on 3 or 4 other billion-dollar projects before, but this is without a doubt the biggest and the most complex that I've ever seen. And I can't imagine other projects being any more complex than this.
850 buses ferry the 40,000-strong Asian workforce on and off the island in 2 12-hour shifts. They'll work in grueling temperatures of up to 48 degrees Celsius. As well as thousands of people, millions of tons of concrete and steel are shipped in from around the world and driven onto the Palm. 51 different contractors build houses, roads, canals, shopping centres, sewage plants, and each part of the jigsaw must meet the next perfectly. To stay on schedule, all the materials must arrive on site exactly on time, and they will go to any lengths if they don't.
If material isn't showing up from overseas, you put somebody on the plane and fly the guy out there to get it done. You don't wait, you don't sort of react, you just get out there and try and be proactive, because otherwise a job this size never gets done.
Supply is not the only problem. Installation of the utilities and pipelines is a massive headache. Miles and miles of gas and water pipelines need to be laid across many different parts of the construction site. Munir Haidar, head of the technical team, knows that on a job this size, a good plan is vital.
It's not that there is no plan, there is a plan, but you have to monitor and adjust this plan on a daily basis because it changes every day.
Since the island's launch in 2001, it's changed beyond recognition. Originally, Palm Jumeirah was designed to house and service 60,000 people. But by 2004, developers realized the public loved the idea so much, they doubled the capacity.
Everybody's changing their requirements, and you have to learn to react very quickly to that. And in Dubai, things move quickly.
The pressure is on. Palm was first released to the public. These most expensive $2 million. David Bell, 3 residents want to move in Paris. 40 are still the world. Palm trunk still threatening, and 400.
You come outside.
Nature will destroy anything. Rears its is also a feature caused the massive struck shoreline. Some worrying fact: 10 meters of nature erosion. Nature's force is faced new all the time. Vince, the builder, sees it weeks. The pier attracting new in Dubai style. Even before the eyes of the first scribe the world. These islands 300 is to the nation to the limit.
Ale ci ha già placcio?
Ma, Gottes Willen.
start. 3, 2, 1, start.
Отладь. No, teraz.